Okay, so I've written 2 parenting books, and I have to say the question I get asked the most is, what do your daughters think about how you parented them? Who wants to
I'm
go
the
first?
youngest, so someone else should go first. I've had the least years.
Wow.
Well, it's a big question. I don't understand the question.
Well, people always ask, what was it like being raised by your parents? Some people think Yannick and I were too autocratic, that your dad and I were too autocratic.
Can I know what that word is? I was going to say, can I get a definition on autocratic? Sentence.
Well, okay, there's permissive parenting, which is basically allowing your kid to explore, discover, and they don't get in trouble. There's no consequence for action. Then there's helicopter parenting, which is just whoosh, 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 and you stand over them, hover over them, and they don't get to make any decisions on their own. And then there's people say autocratic parenting is when you discipline, you spank, you have consequence for action. It's kind of like they feel like that type of parenting is it's my way or the highway. You're laughing. Did you feel like that's how it was?
I mean, I don't know, like, I wouldn't blame you if you did. I remember times where you weren't allowed to leave the table unless you ate your red peppers, which you didn't like.
I did get grounded once for not eating tofu.
That's true.
I don't know. I mean, parenting is you don't have any knowledge or experience really. You think you know everything, and then it happens and it's different.
Right.
So you're always going in blind to begin with, but then you guys were kids. So I feel like a lot of it was really hard for us because you guys were growing up at the same time, essentially. Mm-hmm. It was kids raising kids. So that led to some difficult experiences for us for sure. But I feel like I obviously was the most disciplined because I was a difficult teen. Kid too, I guess. But I feel like I've always been really grateful for that because I feel like I saw people who I went to school with who kind of got to live however they wanted and saw the trajectories of our lives and stuff. And I knew a lot of people in LA who had clearly never been disciplined and never told no. They were taught the sun shines out of your ass and you're God's gift to the world, and they were horrible to people. So I feel like the discipline was really important in building our characters. And as much as I hated it in the moments, I look at it now as an adult who's very established in her life, and I'm very grateful for it now. But I don't think in the moment kids ever are happy to be told no or be spanked or be grounded. You're always I hate my parents. They're the worst parents ever. And then you're 30 and you're a completely well-rounded, happy individual. And you're I get it now. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of my perspective on it.
Would you do those things that we did as a parent if you were to have kids? Do you think, what would you keep and what would we throw away?
I definitely think it's important to have discipline. I wouldn't throw out discipline. You were saying, people that are very hands-off parents. And same as me, I grew up and I saw a lot of kids like that at school, especially the school I went to, where it's you can tell these people's parents had hardly spoke to them, let alone discipline them. So I definitely think, and this might be edgy to say, but I feel I would probably keep spanking to some extent. I don't know that.
Well, it's what we were talking about the other day.
Well, yeah, look at Kelly Clarkson's in a whole lot of hot water because she spanks.
I think the difference is we had a conversation about this the other day, and you're not spanking for getting a bad grade. Yeah. As your example, it's you spank as a consequence to an action. So it's if I lie, I get spanked because I'm taught that it's not okay to lie, that's not fair,
that's it's deceitful.
Yeah, and that's not a good character trait. It's not you didn't get the goal in soccer, or I don't like the way you spoke to me, this at the end of the thing. It was literally lying and things that it was a clear
just lying.
Yeah, it was like a clear consequence to an action. So you learn that there are consequences to certain actions. It wasn't like,
which is how the real world
Yeah.
usually
Oh, I
works.
learned so fast about spanking. I think I got spanked like 3 times total.
could never do
Because
that.
I like, also being the youngest, I watched. I watched and I was like, oh, no. And I remember Brian would put on like multiple.
Oh yeah,
That was our, like, strategy.
we would like run off whenever we were both getting spanked, we'd run off together and go layer our underwear. And you guys caught on to that fairly quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't subtle.
No. And I just remember there was one time in particular, we were staying at the hotel in Zuma, the one attached to the restaurant there. Yeah. And we were getting spanked and you sent us upstairs and we panicked and we were layering our underwear. And I remember it was you or Dad when he was like, you can keep 3 pairs. And it was like, you were like giving it to us. You were like, okay, that's smart. Like, you were like, you know what? It was almost like you like respected and appreciated the hustle. And you were like, okay, I'm going to give you this one.
The thing is,
Yeah, the
I
thinking
remember
for
that.
yourselves.
Yeah,
and
you were like
problem solving and coming up with a good solution.
Like, this one's on me.
We can sit here and it's like, we can talk about it and talk about the way we were disciplined, and like spanking is a very touchy subject and is a very like taboo topic. Like people either are very, very, very adamantly against it or for it. There's no like gray space or middle ground with it. But I mean,
Well,
we don't see many worse for wear.
Yeah.
our thing with spanking was it was very clear, like these were the rules and this was the consequence. And then there were always conversations had around it. Like we were like, do you understand what you've done? Like, do you understand where you've crossed the line? And then you would get spanked and then we would talk after. We'd be like, okay, so what will you do differently next time when you come into that same scenario? Well, you are a mom now of little Rory. So like, what do you think about how you were raised? Did you think it was autocratic?
I would say yes, but I think also too, I'm the oldest. So I had like everything was very firm and set for me. Like there was no flexibility that these two kind of maybe got later on.
I don't think I got
But
any
less
flexibility.
I think I got
less flexibility.
Yeah, no, I was
than
gonna say
everyone.
less so you because
I was
you
also
were a little
personally
bit
flexible.
yeah. So I think it was there were certain things that were very different from like what were hard and fast rules for me that like never applied to her, or like kind of applied and then it was like cast aside.
Like what?
Like for example, a cell phone. Like, I got that one of the Nokia bricks handed down from you in grade 10 or 11, I think.
No, it would have been before.
No, it wasn't.
No,
It was, I remember I was because I was still at BSS. Yeah, so it was grade 10.
Grade 10. Yeah, I was
And
just
it
going to
was
say,
like-
you lost yours on the island, your brand new Motorola.
I don't know why you're bringing that up. That's a traumatic memory. That's a traumatic memory.
It would have been like literally 2 years later.
Was it?
She got hers in 9th grade.
I
You were like 2 years
my
younger than
motivator
her.
was when I was 16. I got it for my 16th birthday.
Yeah, so I wasn't allowed to have a phone.
So it's 2 years later.
Until I was
She
like 16. And you got one, I think, in grade like 7 or something.
It
I
was
got it the
also-
summer going into 7th grade because I was going to be taking the subway to school.
Yeah, but that's another thing. I wasn't allowed to use the subway until like grade 11. Like you would, even with friends, you were like, you can't use the subway, it's dangerous. So like things like that, and the fact that you got her a cell phone to use the subway in grade 7. So little things like that,
Well,
where
I think as a parent, what happens is like,
you're not as worried.
yeah, well, you're protective, right? You're
Of
the
course.
firstborn, and it's like the same thing. The same thing with the it's the same thing with the soother. It's like the soother drops on the ground, you pick it up, you boil it with the first one. With the second one, you run it under hot water. With the third one, you stick it right back in their mouth when it falls on the ground. Because it's true.
I mean, if it falls at home, I don't boil it. Like
Right, but what it comes down to is, as a parent, you see that this one, you protected them in all these ways. Oh, it worked out. They're none the worse for wear. Oh, good, we got them through. And then the second one comes along, and you're like, oh, okay, I can release a little bit here, a little bit there.
No, that totally makes
You
sense.
know, and then by the time the third one comes along, you're like, okay, well, you're going to be fine because these two were fine when we eventually let them do that.
Yeah.
And I think also too, in fairness, and I say this a lot in both my parenting books, is that each kid requires, like, you have your same rules, but they require a different amount of force in order for those rules to
also
be.
you have to think you guys are 7 years apart too.
Yeah.
It's a big gap. So the times changed dramatically
in the
in between that. Like when we got phones, it was like fairly a new thing to have a cell phone.
So, but it is something that's like a really easy thing to pinpoint of like a huge point of difference because it was like you were very worried and very not okay with me doing that. And then for her, it was like,
I remember, wasn't Dominique's curfew like 10 p.m. or something? Like, didn't your curfew end up getting pulled so early that it was like,
it wasn't even
it wasn't even, you couldn't be trusted to follow it.
And then it was like setting me up for failure. Like, I'm going to be late. Like,
it's 10 p.m.
The party starts at 10.
So then I remember when you found out that like, I think in like 9th or 10th grade, my curfew was 12:30.
Oh, I lost my damn mind. I was like,
my curfew was 10. And Mom was like, yeah, you never made it once.
That's who's going to make a 10 p.m. curfew? Don't even go out.
I did.
But then
I
you
was
were
obviously having more fun.
you would sneak out after your curfew a couple of times.
No.
That's a lie.
Not when I still had a curfew.
No. Okay. So now you're
I was on the second floor in no friends. I had no one to sneak out to. No one in high school liked me.
I don't think I did.
You did. You would bang on the window like if you get locked out. I'd have to let you back in.
Oh.
All these years later, Brenna's like,
she doesn't.
I have no memory of that. I mean, I remember now that she says banging on the window, but I'm like, where did I even go? I don't
I
remember.
was dead asleed. It was so scary.
that does sound scary. Again, I was on the second floor.
So you couldn't sneak out.
That's why I don't remember. That's so weird.
That's so good. Okay, so now you're a mom.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do if Rory starts sneaking out of the
Oh my
house?
God.
Well, he has to learn to walk.
Yeah,
He's gotta learn to walk first, exactly. I mean, I don't really know. Like, it's one of those things where like I haven't thought about it because I'm just like, oh my God, he's sleeping through the night.
You're like, I'm more focused on my pumping schedule than he sneaks out.
Exactly. That's
But do you have house rules? Have you and Craig talked about it?
I mean, we kind of talked loosely. Like, we've talked about things that like we're aligned on in terms of, like values and things that are important to us. But I don't think we've talked about like specific situations. Like, we're aligned on, we're not really comfortable with like the spanking thing. Like, there may be situations where it's like, okay, this is going to need to be a consequence.
Yeah.
But for right now, obviously, he's a baby. We're not thinking, what are we going to have to spank him for? Like, we're not like thinking about that. But I think it's just more of like a thing that neither of us particularly feel super comfortable with doing, of like mentally, of like, like that's a task. So I don't know, like I can't say.
Of course it's hard.
I can't. I would imagine.
Well, I'm saying I would hope
it would be like, oh man.
Well, and it's especially hard when you're doing it structured, right? Because what's funny. What are you dying about?
Why are we laughing?
Other than you haven't slept and TikTok doesn't know where you are today because you lost your phone. The TikTok universe.
She didn't know it was.
Oh, sorry. It's taken home by someone else. Taken home by someone else.
Yeah.
What were we thinking
about?
Nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Okay, well, it has something to do with parenting. We should talk about it. No, but like to your point about, is it hard to spank your children? Well, yeah, because
I can't even like talk to Reginald sternly, so I don't know what kind of shit I'm talking to me. Like, I think I'll spank. Like, I can't even look at Reginald wrong, and he gets the eyes.
I know.
No,
I was yelling at Winnie the other day, and anyone who knows my dog knows she plays dead when she's in trouble.
yeah.
So I had her by like her little cheeks, and I was yelling at her because she pooped in the house.
Yeah.
And she decided to die in that moment. And so she like slammed into the wall and then like dramatically fell. And I was like, no. I was like, this is the worst case scenario. I just like stared at each other.
I stepped on her foot last week in a pair of chunky boots. I stepped on this poor dog's foot. Thank you. And she started limping, and I was like,
That's it. I can never have not even one child. I was crying. I was like, I don't even deserve this niece of a dog. I was like, it's over.
Okay, talking about a crazy dog thing, which has nothing to do with parenting, but I guess kind of does. So we were walking Cole this morning, and this woman had one of those, what's the dog from the like dog food commercials with the chunky?
Scotty?
Yeah, like the white ones, the white.
Like a little like Scotty, like
Yeah,
Scottish Terrier.
Anyway, this little guy, Rupert, is walking down the street and
good name.
Great name. Yelling at Cole, and she goes, "Rupert, what's even wrong with you?" And she like pulls on his leash, and she turns him in a circle. He gets off the ground.
Oh, no.
He flies.
Rupert!
Circle hits.
What? It's not funny. Oh my god! Don't. She goes, it wasn't hard to spank.
It's what?
She's cackling. She goes, spanking was easy.
About this poor dog, and she's like, yeah, it's hard.
Bounces off a recycle.
Oh my god, Mom!
And Tad's just like, well, I bet she didn't think that was gonna happen. Poor Rupert. So it's like I was just thinking about poor Winnie when you picked her up and she like hit the wall, and I'm thinking the same thing about this poor Rupert. He's like barking at this dog, and next thing you know, he's like being body slammed against the recycling bin on his walk. It was crazy. She definitely didn't mean to do it, but all that to say, see, there you go. That no, we didn't ever enjoy it, but our thing.
God, I didn't ask if you enjoyed it.
No, or did we like? Was it hard? But you know what I mean. But what we did believe in very strongly was that by doing that, it was going to create character and the kind of character that we wanted to put out in the world, the kind of human beings we wanted to put out in the world. Funny enough, though, I don't think I would spank if I were to do it again.
I don't think I could. Like I want to figure out when I eventually potentially maybe have children, like an alternative, because it's like a timeout's not the same. Like it doesn't have the same impact.
No.
But like spanking is like, but I don't know what
And we were never angry when we did it, which I think was the important thing. Like, I think
we would get like a time.
Yeah, you'd be like,
I
in
think
15 minutes.
Your spanking time is this.
I think
and this is how many you're going to get because of this action warrants this many.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
It was never in the moment. Like,
I think that for me, like psychologically, like because I just think
you get
that
so worked up.
You get so worked up, and I feel like part of that is like stayed with me is like
would you say it's a trauma?
Not in a way of like, oh my god, trauma, but like in a way that like it changes the way that your brain handles things.
Like would you say it might have created like conflict avoidance?
Well, conflict avoidance, and because like I definitely know that that's a problem that I have, and I think that it also created a little bit of anxiety around getting in trouble and wanting to make sure that I was on my best behavior at all times.
Yeah.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, but just like later in life, like there are situations where like I'll go out of my way to avoid something because of the chance of it being mildly unpleasant, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But I think so for me, like there was so much stress and anxiety in those moments of like knowing that the spanking was coming.
Yeah.
That like, I don't feel like I could do that, like to like a little being. I don't know. For me, it's having had the experience. I'm like, oh my god, like the thought of like little Roro being like shivering somewhere and like being really upset. Just like I don't know. It like shivering. Well, no, because I don't know about you, but when I get like really stressed or like worried or nervous, I get like shaky. So I get like I kind of like tend to like shiver when I'm really nervous about something. I don't know why. So like the thought of him.
Well, it's normal. It's parasympathetic versus sympathetic.
Yeah. So
when your body.
Regardless, it's just like the thought of putting that on a little person is just like, oh.
But what if he calls you a bitch?
I mean, I'm hoping that I do my job well enough that like that maybe doesn't happen. Like I've never called you a bitch. Like I've never been like,
not to my
bitch.
face.
Like I don't think
Probably.
Yeah.
I think
I
I did.
you definitely did.
Yeah.
So
which is normal. I called my mom.
You called Dad a dick.
I did call Dad a dick.
Oh my
I mean,
god!
well, Dominic was
kids watching this right
sorry.
now.
I mean,
I've called Dad a dick. I was joking.
I was defending Meek. I said, Dominique says I don't have her back enough. Here I go. Jumping in with both feet.
Yeah.
And he literally stepped out. He stepped dead. He stopped dead. He was. I didn't say you're a dick. I said you are being a dick right now.
Yeah.
Is what I said.
Yeah.
Which is fair, I guess.
I think that's when I called you a bitch once. I think that it was the same thing. I was like, you're being a bitch. Like, I don't think I was like, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
I had this
you
one-
probably saved that for your friends.
I had this one
my
kid
mom
at
is
school.
such a bitch, for sure. Like,
I had this one kid at school. He was literally on the phone with his mom, and he's like screaming at her on the phone, and he just drops off and calls her a C word to her. And I was like,
oh, I would
me, my roommate and I were like,
come to your school, drag you out of whatever class, and beat your ass.
my roommate and I were like,
I would never.
He just didn't enjoy it.
did he just
If
say?
you called me a stew next Tuesday, I would beat your ass.
I was like, whoa.
Well,
How old was he?
This was sophomore year of college.
Oh, university.
Yeah.
Oh, that has a lot of
Wow.
weight to it at that age.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, all the
You've been
college
around
shit.
a little bit, and you
Yeah.
know they're paying X number of dollars at your
A lot of
private
dollars.
university, and you still
And you
feel
know they're
okay.
states away and they can't get you.
Oh.
I had a girl at BSS call you a prostitute once.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
remember?
Yeah.
Sorry, she was like 35 and hot.
Like, yeah, that's a girl that definitely should have been spanked. She's a vile human being.
Wow, I remember that.
Yeah.
That's right. What was her reasoning?
I don't think she had a reason.
Yeah,
But this prostitute, like,
I think
No.
she was jealous because her parents put her in boarding because they didn't want to drive her to school every morning.
oh,
So I think she had some unresolved issues.
I would rather take a hands-on prostitute than a hands-on.
hands-on prostitute rather than a hands-off lawyer?
Yeah, I don't know what her parents did, but I'm just saying I'd rather my parent be a hands-on prostitute
Yeah.
than
Somebody who
like
doesn't want to drive you to school.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at people who seemingly have children but don't want them.
Mm.
And I say don't want them because they're not involved. Like they're not
Yeah.
invested.
Yeah.
Like they're not doing the work. They're not building the relationship. I'm like, so what is this
Those are
person?
the people who are like, they look at life as like boxes to tick. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I got married because I was a certain age and I was supposed to. And I, had the 2.5 kids and the dog. And it's like,
yeah.
they're doing it because it's like they have this like weird checklist in their mind of what a life is supposed to look like. And they're not actually doing it because they're like, I want children because, I want to foster a life and
Yeah.
raise a human. And they're like, oh no, I'm supposed to have kids. So here they are.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like for me, I always thought I wanted kids. Like I just grew up like always seeing that for my life and like really wanting it and really thinking. And then just like life is so different now than I thought it was going to be. And I just don't have any desire now. Like I just think, the state of the world really scares me and makes me uncomfortable. And
That's
I
for
think,
Yeah.
and financially, like I just got to a point where I can take care of myself.
Because the world is expensive.
It's so expensive to live now. And it's like, I don't want to live in like stress or,
self-inflicted poverty.
yeah, or feel like guilty, like I'm not, giving enough and doing enough because it's like I just felt like I needed to do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it happens, like if I find the person and it all kind of like falls into place and I feel like it's a smart idea, then maybe I'll think about it. But it's just the trajectory of life now. It just took me in a totally different direction and I just don't feel good about it. And I think so many people have that and they just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, my parents want grandkids. Well, now I've been with my college boyfriend for 10 years now. And okay, well, I'm just going to do it and figure it out as I go. And it's like, but genuinely deep down, you don't want to do it.
Mm.
And I think that's where you see all these kids where it's like,
Yeah.
people just thought their whole lives that they wanted kids and they didn't listen to their instinct and didn't listen to their hearts. They were just like, no, but I've wanted this, so I need to do it.
Or everybody else wants me to do it. So I
Yeah.
need to do it. Without realizing, it's your whole life. Like it's the rest of, it's for entirety. Like kids are not, it's not even when you get them off to university that you're done or when they move out that you're done. You know, it's literally your whole life. And my mom used to always say, oh my gosh, I should put this on. My mom used to always say, bigger kids, bigger problems. And I used to be offended by that, thinking that she meant that we were nothing but trouble. But what she meant now, as I've gone through that, and I'm now in that part of my parenting where you girls are all adults, is that when they're little, you're exhausted and you're sleep deprived and you're running around and you're like, oh my God, will I ever feel like myself? Will I ever get my life back? Will I ever be able to have time for me? And you're just flat out exhausted. And then it becomes quickly to that stage where they kind of only half need you. So you're just there to kind of catch them when they fall. And then once they're big, they recognize, oh, I do need you in a powerful way and want to be close and need your support. So then it becomes this emotional journey that is like all consuming also, right? And you think you're only going to worry about kids when they're little, but you don't. Like you worry, like when you were pregnant, you know, you miscarried one. And so when you got pregnant with the second, I was like, oh my God, it was so painful. Like it was so painful to see you in that much pain, you know? So as a mother, you don't want your child to have that kind of hurt. And then you're like, oh, well, she's doing it again. She's trying again. And then, you know, and then the pregnancy happens. And then I'm in the delivery room with you and I'm like, oh God, help it be a safe delivery. Help him, you know, the baby comes out and he's got 10 fingers, 10 toes, both, you know what I mean? Like, so And it just becomes, so now I understand what that saying means.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it just means that the job of a parent is never done. And the worries, and worries has kind of a negative connotation to it, but the
concern.
Yeah, the concern for your well-being and like, is the world going to be a good enough place to bring children into? And like, what does that look like? And are you going to find your people? And where do they look like? And where are they going to be? Are they going to be halfway around the world?
And it's like, and I just got to a place where like, I want to be on the earth, you know, like it was so hard for me. There was a long time there where like, I didn't even want to like, you know. So it's just like, so it's like, I can't imagine like bringing a child. Sorry, don't look at me like that.
I know, it's sad.
No, it's sad. It's hard.
No, not in like a general, not in like
not like
emotionally.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I can't imagine like making that call for like another human when it was like.
It's hard.
Like everything like you went through, you're like, I don't want, like, I can't imagine bringing someone into the world and then they have to go through like even half the things that like I feel like I've gone through.
And like the shitty people and like, you know.
Yeah, which is like what goes back to why I wrote my damn books in the first place. Like, it's not really that hard to raise good people.
Yeah.
We were punks. We were 18, 19-year-old people. Did we screw up? Did we make mistakes that if we were like when we had you, we were 26 or 27. So by the time you're 27, you're very different. And I think that that's a lot of why we were different with her as well. You know, and we weren't in the church when we were with her. So the church had a lot of like, we were very much in a box and we were being discipled and we were being questioned weekly, you know, twice a week at our meetings, how we were doing as parents and, you know, what laws.
You're like 23, you're like, I don't know. If someone asked me, like, oh my God.
That's the other thing too. It's like,
can't imagine
when it comes to kids, for some reason, people are so invasive. Like, I don't get it. Like, and I've noticed it even more now that you have a baby. All of a sudden it's like, oh, when are you having one? Oh, you're nice. Oh, you look good with that baby. Like, I'm in love with him. I adore him. And I really love having someone to pass him back to. Like, and going home and sleeping all night.
No, that's what you do.
And you do get to sleep all night because he's a great baby. But you know what I mean? And it's like, and I have my goddaughter who I'm in love with and I adore and like, I love spending time with her and, you know, watching her grow into a little human. Now she's 2 and she talks to me and she repeats what I say. And it's like, it's amazing to be obsessed with it. But again, I love when her mom comes and picks her up and takes her home. Like, you know, so I don't like that there's this connotation that like, there's something wrong with you or you're behind or you, now that your sister has one, you've got to go out and have one too. It's like, why?
Like if I came home tomorrow to everyone, to all my extended family and all the people on the streets and all the people on Instagram, and I was like, I'm pregnant. I can promise you there would be very few genuine, like, congratulations. If I was like, yeah, guess what? Just got pregnant out of wedlock with a one-night stand. Like, because that's what it would be right now in my life. That's where I'm at. So it's like,
what's his name? I don't know. He looks good.
I probably made a fake name up.
He feels passion.
That's Troy. I don't know. I don't know, but it's like the same thing. But people think they can ask those questions, but if it generally came down to it, then they would have judgment about that too.
Yeah.
They'd be like, wait a minute, you're not doing it right.
Well,
Like,
it's
you
like
can't
all
do that.
the anti-abortion people who picket outside of Planned Parenthood and stuff and make assumptions on women for the choices they make. Meanwhile, it's like, okay, well, have you adopted any kids lately?
Yeah.
Are you fostering anyone?
Yeah. Are you doing
donating?
GoFundMes?
Yeah. Are you
Money?
donating money to, those shelters that women can live at and stuff? Like, what are you
helping?
doing for these lives that you're
Or, like, are you
apparently
so
fighting for?
They're not
Like,
okay with children being taught appropriate sexual education either
Right.
to prevent these
Yeah.
situations. So it's like, what
Sure.
are you really contributing? Like, you're just all you're asking for right now is
It's
a forced
control.
pregnancy. Like,
Yeah.
that's all you care
Well, and
about.
also it's like, or for women where it's a medical situation, or the baby's going to be born unhealthy and have expenses or stuff. Are you going to be paying the medical bills? Like, are you going to pay the medical bills if she has issues in labor? Like, it's very weird.
I had this one girl who posted on her story the day that Biden won the presidency. She posted on her story and was like, now all you whores are happy, you can go get your abortions. And then in brackets was like, unless it's for a sad situation, for instance. And you're like,
In parentheses.
in parentheses.
And
I was like,
I'd rather you be forced to have a child that you're going to resent and hate and not raise properly.
But you were
for the rest of
raised
his life.
but again,
Like,
it's like,
like the girl that I know that had a child and 3 years into his life was like, never mind, ditched him and moved to a different state and doesn't see him, has no relationship with him. How do you think that impacts that child? Like, what do you think that trauma is for him now?
The abandonment, the neglect.
As a teenager now, watching her live this lavish life, and she just left you behind.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, people don't realize when they're fighting for those things that there is a life there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be impacted and it's not good. And I also have another friend who had to have an abortion and it was devastating for her. She was so heartbroken. She just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard for her. And in the moment, it all happened so fast. And then a couple weeks later, she broke down about it. And it's not something
making knee-jerk decisions in the moment.
Yeah, and that was way harder for her and way more devastating for her than the girl who just straight up abandoned her kid. That girl doesn't even think about it, doesn't even look back on it. And it's you can't decide someone's character based on if they do or don't have the baby.
Yeah, well, I have a friend who got an abortion years ago, and, the guy was a crazy, abusive psycho, and she needed to get away from him. She could not fathom her life being attached to this person for, a minimum of 18 years with this kid.
Yeah.
And, she's gone on to have 2 beautiful children now with a fantastic partner. And it's she, it wasn't about her being irresponsible or her, not valuing life. It was just for her, it would have been a terrible situation. And, now, when the time was right, it's worked for her. And she's, she's made it a beautiful thing.
It's also so, coming back to the people just making rash judgments and involving themselves in other people's business. It's a lot to assume that anyone makes that sort of decision lightly either way.
Yeah. Oh,
That is
100%.
so beyond disrespectful to just whittle it down to this tiny little choice. It's not even the right to choose. It's because I think, yes, it's a choice, but it's bigger than a choice.
Yeah, it's a life decision. It's not it's not just oh, you know what, I'm gonna get oat milk in my latte.
Yeah, it's am I gonna walk to Barry's or am I gonna drive? That's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a very rare occasion, and obviously we don't know, we're not in the minds of women who do end up at that decision. I always thought I would as well, because I watched my mom struggle as a single mom, and I watched a really toxic, abusive relationship, and I didn't have any hope for love. I mean, I thought I would have love, and I thought I would be in love.
Yeah, you were always in love.
I was always in love. I loved love. I was very romantic. But in my head, I never ever sat and fantasized about being a mother because all I saw of it was how fucking hard it was and how lonely it was. Like my mom was remarkable in that, you know, you see women now who like can't even spend a month alone after divorce or breakup and bringing men on like a conveyor belt through their children's lives because they can't be alone or don't want to be alone. And my mom wasn't like that. So I just thought, no, like I didn't want that. I had bigger dreams for myself. I had bigger aspirations. So, you know, I always just had the mindset that I would be like totally in the moment. I would make the choice to have an abortion. And when it came down to it, and I reflected on it and I meditated because it's not to be taken lightly. Mm-hmm. And it certainly depends on where you stand in life. I think a lot of people are way more spiritual today than they were even back 32 years ago. And, you know, and I couldn't help asking like, well, who is this being who chose me? And why did this baby choose me? And what's this baby's life going to look like? And why are they coming here? Like, I just had all these thoughts in my head. And all I kept thinking was, it's not my place to stop that journey. It's not my place to end this being who picked me. You know, I'm just the vessel, right? Like, that's how I view it. I'm just here to bring you guys here to live your lives, to have your experiences, to work out your karmic stuff, you know what I mean? And it's
a lot.
I'm working on some karmic stuff.
Yeah, the karmic experiences have been amazing.
But you know what I mean? So I don't think anybody, and the few women I know that have made the choice and have gone the route where they have had abortions, they've never ever gotten over it. You know, so I think as far as that goes, I think that's it really, and probably gonna lose a lot of viewers between here and now when we start this conversation anyway, about, because some people are just so hardcore about it's just a no.
You already lost them at spanking.
Yeah. No, I talk about spanking in the books. I don't talk about abortion in the books. But okay, so going way back to you, because we get this question a lot. I know you girls get it. I know I get it a lot. But what was it like to have Yannick as a father? You said you called him a dick. People are gonna be so surprised by that.
Let me preface that with I have the best dad in the world.
Yeah.
Let me preface it with that. I have an incredible father.
But nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Yes.
And they were just, dear Jan was just in a fight with Dominique that night. They always kind of went toe to toe, head to head. And they were having a disagreement, and I thought he was being too hard on her. And so I made that known. And I said, you're being a dick right now. Because he was just being a dick in that moment.
Yeah.
And that was that.
To this day, I do not remember what.
I don't remember what was happening.
I don't remember what he was saying to me.
But you
couldn't
remember
tell you.
that.
But I do remember that. It was iconic.
I can hear you saying it too. I wasn't there, but I know exactly how you said it.
Genuine feeling, like, for being the middle child, like, I definitely felt that a lot. Like, my sisters let me take the fall. Like, they do not stand up for me.
And I was listening to you. I was like, she feels that way.
Go to the mat for me like I do for them.
You also are a lot
But
more.
I'm also a lot like Mom, where I have no issues with confrontation. Like, I never was afraid to, like, fight with you and Dad.
Yeah, and speak your mind and fight for what you thought was right and true. Like, because you're idealistic like me.
I'm very strong in my convictions, and you will know it.
I mean, I didn't really have an issue fighting. I still don't really. We just didn't really fight.
Yeah.
There just wasn't much, like, we didn't really disagree. I was like, there wasn't much to fight about. But to say, like, what was it like being raised by Murdoch? I think I was the one that, like, really was raised, I'd say, during the Murdoch
you were 10,
time.
right?
Yeah. You guys were older when it, like, really had taken off. But I was the one that was, like, going to high school every day while it was on. And, like, I was the one still in school and still, like, being raised when it did, like, when he did the switch to CBC. And it really blew up.
Yeah.
Like, and so I did have some difficulties with that.
You had blowback for sure.
I got a lot, and it was weird because I was at a very
well-to-do private school with a lot of kids whose parents had very
Way
big titles.
more
Like,
success and
Well, it's not
wealth
as like
and-
sexy as like
not
my
even that,
dad's
it's just
on
also
TV.
not as in your face.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I remember there were times in class, like I was in this one politics class, and obviously in Canada, there's like a handful of news outlets.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at our articles on CBC, and the whole goddamn banner on the screen is Murdoch ads. And I was like, oh, Dad, like I thought it was great. And then the kids in class, they start snickering and they start making all these comments, and like they start being all bitchy. Like even the teacher had to like get involved and tell them to stop.
Wow.
Except for you jealous by Mariah Carey.
I'm really obsessed with Mariah Carey.
Obsessed.
And then I get like my high school yearbook, my senior yearbook, and I get my superlative. My education went really well. And it's like most likely to be Murdoch's assistant. And I was like, that's really the best you guys could fucking come up with? Like
Oh no.
oh my God. It became like my personality, like my identity to these kids at school.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it was in like a weird making fun of me way. And I was like, I don't know how this is making fun of me.
Yeah.
Like,
How is this
my
a
dad's
negative?
cool. Sorry, my dad's cool as fuck. Like his TV show's really successful. Like I'm at the same school as all of you. I'm going to like the coolest university in the world. Like that might be biased. I'm going to Zoe 101 school. Like, sorry, I don't know what to tell you all.
Queens together and then
Yeah.
you know,
And then still get
moving
together
to
on
the same
Saturday
You're
nights.
gonna only ever hang out with each other for the rest of your life.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was just so weird. I was like, why do you all think like, so I got a lot, and even the principal, because it got so bad that the principal was involved.
Yeah, we had to get everybody involved.
Even the principal was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we've never really had this at this school. He was like, this isn't your
So I'm just gonna do nothing.
literally, yeah. He was like, this isn't a BSS. This isn't a UCC. We're not used to these kinds of parents. And I'm like,
So just
I'm
sit
like,
there with your thumb up your ass,
so
that's
you
fine.
can't do anything because my dad's job happens to have him on billboards like that. So you can't do anything. He said, we've only ever had one other student where this was like an issue. I was like, okay, well, that was like when the school first opened like a decade ago. So really you can't do much more than that.
You
haven't figured it out.
But especially speaking of a principal who came from said BSS. So he had
He
seen
didn't come
it.
from BSS.
Yeah, he was an English
Yeah, he
teacher.
was.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was an
that
English
explains
teacher.
a lot. BSS
Yeah.
is the worst.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? So like he here's this guy who that's exactly where he came from. So he would have seen these
He
things.
would have seen it.
And
He's
as a
full of
principal,
shit. He's
isn't
just
it-
lazy.
Yeah, he's just lazy. He didn't care.
But he made
Well,
sure to
yeah.
give us this one speech before every dance. Was like, I promised my son a watch if he never underage drank, and he never got the watch. So don't come to the dance drunk. And I was like, I'm
I think
coming to
that's
the dance drunk.
gonna happen.
I said, my parents got me this and Mickey a Smirnoff, and I'm coming to your dance.
Murdoch bought me this.
Murdoch's fuck.
Well, that was a really, you had a different experience because like for me the main problem that I had was like girls just being really kind of gross and like inappropriate.
Oh, that was you. I thought
Yeah.
they wanted to have sex.
No.
I just remember
Did
being,
they say that to you?
yeah, I remember being in the bathroom at like one of the father-daughter dances and like a group of girls came in while I was like already in the stall and they were like saying the grossest shit about dad and I was like, first of all, you guys are my age and like he's a grown-ass man and married and
And
also,
to prostitute those.
yeah, well, no, but that was third grade they called you a prostitute.
Okay. Maybe word got around.
No, maybe.
Moral of the story, don't go to private school in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think the thing was like my struggle was like just being super uncomfortable all the time. Like, I mean, yeah, our dad's attractive. You're also a babe. So it's like not, and it's like brought up a lot. Like people are like, your parents are really good looking. And it's like, there are respectful ways to say it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, you know, it's pretty easy for everyone to see you guys are attractive people. So it's like somebody bringing that up. It's not like, oh, what? No, I have no
dare you?
idea. But when people are like inappropriate about it and they
Yeah.
get to a point where like they won't shut up about it, you're just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do with that? Like, it's
That
still
is-
my father, you creep.
like my married father.
Yeah,
like, I don't know
Right?
what to tell you.
Like, I don't know what you want
Who I
from
called a
me.
dick
Like,
once.
yeah. I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I'm not going to go home and be like, oh, my underage friend thinks you're really hot. What do you want to do about that? Like, what do you think is going to come of you being disgusting about somebody's parent? Like, I just never understood that. And so, like, that for me was always an issue of
What
like,
show was on at the time that they might have been
Sue
watching?
Thomas, yeah.
No, but I mean, like, what show would they have been watching
The
as
movie
teens?
13.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Oh, and American Beauty too.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a little bit that might have like.
Yeah, it was just like, you know, it's not Orlando Bloom that, like, you know, is never going to hear about this. Like, it's my dad. Like, you guys are gross.
You guys are being
I bring up Orlando Bloom because Lord of the Rings was huge when I was that age.
Yeah,
And so
Right.
it's like,
But also
he
too,
was-
it's like you didn't have access to Orlando Bloom, but you had access to Yannick.
yeah,
Bisson.
so I was like,
Who's your father?
you know, I don't care what you say about Orlando Bloom, but like, this is my dad.
This is really
gross.
gross. Like, ugh.
I think for me, my experience were more like actually my relationship with dad. Like dad and I always had like a difficult relationship, and I think it's because we're so similar.
Mm.
So it's like the things that like irk him about you,
Yeah.
I do too. And so like I kind of like
He's like, I've got
we
two
had
of
like
them.
a lot of conflict a lot of my life.
Mhm.
I also think people don't understand like a lot of our lives were really hard from him being an actor. Like
Yeah.
we had to move a lot, and that was always really hard. Like I always wanted to be one of those kids who like lived in the same house their whole life and
Yeah.
went to one school and had the same friends from the time. Like I feel like I have a hard time with like friendships and stuff.
Connections.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we moved around so much when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so I was always used to having new friends and like finding new groups of people to kind of like fit in with and like
Just tacking on as an extra
But I think it
friend.
also is good because it taught me a lot about like not having such anxious attachment styles. Like
Mm.
when people disrespect me, I'm very happy to walk away from.
Yeah, it helps you
Like,
keep boundaries, healthy
yeah, I'm
boundaries.
really good at setting back. Like people will be friends with people they don't like for 20 years just because they've known them forever. And like,
Yeah, like the kids you went to.
and it's
I mean, I
like,
think they don't like each other. I don't know. I don't talk to them.
like I know people who had the same friends since high school, and those girls say the meanest things that I did. The meanest things I've ever heard about some of the girls I know have come from their own best friends. So
Wow.
I think that was really beneficial. All that it taught me to be able to like walk away from friendships and, you know, put myself out there and meet new people and always be comfortable kind of going into a new space. It was also really hard because of like financials and stuff.
Mhm.
Like you guys struggled a lot,
Mhm.
and I know that was really hard on him. And I know like he shared that now, like as an adult with us, like how hard it was and like all the things he would do to like, you know, take care of us. Like my dad can build a freaking house, which is
He
really
can
cool.
deliver repulsive
Like,
parties.
yeah, I don't think people know that about him.
Yeah, like he delivered pizzas, he
did
sold
anything
anything and
everything. Like,
Yeah, like he really took care of our family, but I know it was hard for him. And then there was also like him being away, which was really hard.
Yeah, I
like,
missed a lot of moments.
yeah, like, you know, my birthday falls over pilot season, which a lot of people don't know. It's like when in the States they shoot all the new shows that are coming out. And so he would have to go to LA for pilot season and be there for like 3 months. And he missed a lot of my birthdays, and like he was away a lot for long times, like filming, and like even still now, like I can go like a couple weeks not seeing him because he'll like be on locations or filming 14 hours. So as cool as it is and as exciting as it is and as proud of him as I am, like it definitely was hard as a family. Like it definitely impacted our family, and people don't really like get that about those kinds of jobs.
Yeah,
So-
like people don't see the reality of it. They just kind of see the glamour of like,
Yeah.
oh, he's on TV. And it's like, yeah, do you have any idea how hard that is? And like means the years of, you know, like auditioning with nothing coming of it. And like,
Yeah.
you know, and especially I think like something that happens now that didn't necessarily happen before is like you have a lot of people in the industry who are like don't like dad just because he's so
won't even give
successful.
him a job.
Just because he's successful.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, we're not giving him work, he's smart.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
because they're like petty.
Yeah, or us, all of us wanting at different times to be. I was an actress when I met him. That's how we met.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like our country is built in a very fucked up way in that when you have success, they don't want you to have more of it. So they kind of, they control the flood of success. And I always felt bad. I got told literally by an agent who represented both of us is that, well, you probably should quit because, there's not enough to go around for two people in a household. I'm like, but I'm a woman. He's a man. Like, we're not even going in for the same question. And she was adamant. And I was like, oh, so I need to fire you because the way you're looking at it is he's the only one worthy of your time to get a job. But I did start to feel that when I became a part of him and when I had kids, I automatically was a mother and a wife, and casting agents didn't know what to do with me. I was still freaking 26, 27 years old. And with you girls, I was 21 by the time I had both. I was cheerleading, for crying out loud. I looked cute. Like, I didn't look like a mother. Do you know what I mean? But because they knew I was, they wouldn't bring me in. And then you girls come along all wanting to act and
try it
and give it a try. Yeah. And casting people wouldn't bring you in. Oh, those are Yannick's kids. Yeah. Bisson.
They think they're going to get it just because. I mean, like, here and there.
Experience. There are some casting agents here
that
are so good. They're so nice.
Yeah, and we know who those people are.
Yeah,
we
but
love
they're
them.
great.
But
there were definitely people who were like, oh, they're just auditioning because they think they're going to get it.
I found it more. I never found it with casting agents. I have always had very respectful relationships and great working relationships with a lot of the casting agents in the city.
Yeah.
And I thank them. Thank you for bringing me in. If any of you watch this. I found it almost goddamn near impossible with agents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad can't even get an agent.
Yeah, I would get brought on by agents whenever he would go to them. They'd be like, of course. Yeah, she's so talented. She's beautiful. She's great. We'd love to have her on our roster. Perfect fit. Incredible. And then I would get buried, and I'd get buried, and then I'd get buried. And then eventually Dad would leave for
getting buried, possibly.
Probably getting buried, whatever reason he leaves for. And then I would just be dropped.
Yeah.
No conversation, nothing. One agent just sent back in the day when you had
your photos,
materials, back when you had printed photos and resumes, she just sent my package back. And then I had it time and time again where just, if Dad moved on, I was done.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, that's not fair. So it's like everyone thinks that, like, oh yeah, like sweet little nepotism baby, like it's gonna go so well for her. No, it's hard. You have to, in a lot of ways, like I've had to fight against it because it's like I found myself an agent that finally like respects me for me and thinks I'm talented and thinks I'm worthy of being submitted.
Yeah, and is pushing for you.
And is pushing for me as an actress and as a person.
Yeah.
Not pushing for Yannick's daughter because maybe down the line she'll get Yannick.
Yeah.
So it's like that took a long time to find that agent.
Yeah. You had to go through it. You had to go through it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that we're out here, living this really cool, big old life because of Dad's job. But it's, it's a blessed life for sure. I'm not saying I'm grateful for it indeed, but it's definitely, it comes at a cost, just like anything, anybody's job comes at a cost. So, going one by one, start with you and then you and then you. So what about how we were as parents did you absolutely love and helped create who you are?
I mean, I think you guys were always very determined to kind of like make sure that no matter what you were doing as much as possible for us. Like, we were still always enrolled in like activities and still, able to do things that we were passionate about, even when times were like super lean. You guys always found a way to kind of like prioritize the things that we, wanted to do. Like I was always able to do figure skating when I wanted to do that. And, making sure that I was doing dance classes to help with the figure skating. And always being really, really supportive and encouraging about the things that we did want to do. So that was always hugely important. And that's something that, I'll take with me. You guys have always been our biggest cheerleaders, which is, invaluable, for sure. So that for me is something that like, I always remember is like knowing that you guys are always kind of in our corner no matter what. Like even if, I woke up tomorrow and was like, I want to be a competitive knitter. You guys would be like, you'll be the best competitive knitter ever, bitch. Go get it. Like,
let us buy you the whole thing.
Right, exactly. Like, do you need a crochet crochet coach? Like, you guys would be totally on board.
Yeah.
So like,
We wouldn't think that was cool, but we would.
no, I was just trying to think of something completely ridiculous. And I hope I was successful.
So niche.
Right? So I was like, this is a great idea. So I think that is, you know, something that's like super, super important. Like your kids always need to know that like you're behind them. And like, even if maybe you have your own private reservations, you're not going to be like, you know, don't like, you're going to want to try and support them and like hope that maybe they'll come around to the conclusion that like, it's not the best idea on their own. And you'll be there to be like, you know, here I am to support you in that too. So like, you just want to make sure you're always like a place for your kid to kind of like fall while like raising them up at the same time. So I think that was always something you guys did really well.
Yeah, I would definitely say the same thing, like with support. Like I always felt like I could make my own decisions. I never felt like I had to do things to please you guys. Like I never felt like I wasn't my own person. Like when I wanted to leave BSS, you guys were totally behind me. Let me go to fucking art school and like, because I was like, I want to dance and do photography. Like I'm out of here. Like everyone's a bitch, and none of
paying too much money for this shit, guys.
and I was like, I'm not learning anything because they don't actually help you. They just like you dump like work on you constantly, and I don't work like that. My brain doesn't work like that, and I just. You know, I was like, I feel really dumb and I don't want to be here. And you guys were totally behind me. And then like when I didn't want to go to university, because again, I was like, I don't learn like this. Like you guys totally backed me. Like when I was really struggling and I was like having all my mental health stuff and I was really unwell, like you let me drop courses in high school. And then I took like them after and like did like an extra year and, you know, didn't go to university, like worked at a restaurant, like, you let me always kind of like explore and figure it out. And then when I knew what I wanted to do, I wanted to go to like a little tiny college and do like a very specific program. Like you guys fully supported that. Like you went to the orientation with me. Like, you know, you guys always, there was always room to make choices. Like, and then when I just on a whim moved to LA, like you guys were so supportive and you helped me so much with that. And that was a huge struggle. And like, you always encouraged me. And like every time I fell down, you always like made me feel like I could get back up and just keep going. Like I always felt like, I don't know, just very supported.
And I think also just to add on to that, like, because whenever I feel like we did kind of fall down, there was no like, you have to get back up. It was like, it's okay that this is terrible. And you can take the time you need to acknowledge that this is terrible, but you do have to get back up at some point. Like there was no, there was no, you weren't like, go ahead and wallow forever. But at the same time, you were like, no, it's okay. Like take your time.
But also not like, that didn't happen, stand up.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's good. That's important.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think kind of building off of what they said, there was always trust. Like I always felt like you trusted me. And that goes to like letting me make my own choices, letting me like decide what classes I want to take, where I want to go to school, what I want to do, because you trusted that I was like following my heart and that I felt that it was right. Because I'm obviously very particular with making decisions.
I'm like on a new whim every like 6 months.
Like, do it because I'm like that. You're like,
I was like, guess what? I'm moving back to Canada, and everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm like, I had to make a couple spreadsheets. I had to make a pros and cons list. And like I'm wound very tightly as an individual. And I think even though you are also wound pretty tight.
I know, it's weird, right?
Differently wound.
But you're differently wound. And you were always so like respectful of that and helpful of that. Like when I would be just going to town on myself over like the tiniest thing. Like just spilled wrong.
For context, one time, I don't remember what
I got really upset because my Gap Kids lunchbox had been washed and the label came off. And because, like previously stated, our family struggled a lot. So it was like this huge deal. I was at a school where I felt out of place, where kids were mean to me. And like, they were wealthy. And it was huge to me that I got this Gap Kids lunchbox that matched my backpack. It was like the greatest, coolest thing ever. And it got put in the washing machine and the Gap Kids logo came off. And I was distraught.
I was distraught because obviously when you're like 6 or 7 years old,
That's
like
the biggest.
that's the biggest deal. And so
ever.
I was like having a full-blown meltdown, and my mom was like, Michaela, like, pull it together. This is ridiculous. And I was like, you're right. I am a failure for how I just reacted to that. And I wrote a sign out and put a sign on my bedroom door and locked myself in my bedroom door. And the sign said, I'm a failure, but I spelled failure wrong.
Because you were so
little. I was little, and I probably should not have been calling myself a failure anyway.
I was like, well, because my room was right beside hers, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my God. I remember I went and got you. I was like, you need to come see this because holy shit.
And they thought it was hilarious, and here I am 6 years old crying my eyes out.
Beside herself
Beside
for like a couple days.
That happened a lot when I was that age.
Yeah.
I would say
There's
like
a lot of big feelings.
if I would like say something and someone was like, oh my God, you can't say that, or like that was weird, I would literally go like lock myself away and like lose my damn mind. And all this to say is you were always very good with that. Like you were very good at talking me off the ledge and being like, helping me loosen up, helping me realize like these things are normal. This is okay. Like people have missteps. People do things. Like
it's just a lunchbox.
It's just a lunchbox. It's just a life. Like it's just like, it's okay. And I think even like nowadays, I remember I was in college and I would call you and I'd be like, at the beginning of every semester without fail. I'm in too many classes. My classes are too hard. I don't know what I'm doing. My gosh damn sorority is like killing me. And you'd be like, first of all, it's okay. Like it's just a Kappa Gamma formal. It's okay. It's like dance. It's a film class. Like you're okay. And I'd be like, okay, fine, you're right. But I think that was always great is how like you acknowledged my feelings and like trusted that I was feeling those things, but you also knew how to like level me out.
Yeah, without belittling.
Without belittling me. Like you heard me, you understood me, you got it, and then you're like, okay, but this let's give you some perspective. And I'd be like,
all right, fine.
Like whole meltdown.
Aww. So if and when you have kids, you'll strive to do that too?
I'll definitely strive to listen to them. Like, and to make sure they feel heard, because I think that's like such an important thing. Yeah. And I think that's where so much upset comes with kids and teens and like young adults is they don't feel like there's anyone there that's actually listening to them and that's hearing them. So I definitely think that'll be.
Well, we're so distracted, right?
Yeah.
So many of us, and there's so much going on.
And there's so much going on in your own life as a parent. Like you're going through your own shit every day. But I think it's definitely important to take that time to like sit down with your kid and be like, how are you? What's going on? What's on your mind? Like taking those cues of like, oh, like she seems a little stressed out. Like I'm going to not pry, but I'm going to like look into that a little more and like help unpack that with her. And so that she feels like she doesn't need to keep it all in and be like, she can talk about it. She, he, whatever.
She, he, they, them, all the things. Okay. So in wrapping this up, where are you headed right now? Like you're a new mom, but what's on the horizon for you, and where can people follow you and hang out with you and watch your journey to your next place?
I mean, right now I'm just kind of like trying to get back into the swing of like working again, and like, you know, doing some freelance stuff. So like my makeup account is still active, if not, you know, active. So I'm going to try and, you know, do that, get back into doing that. It's difficult, right? Because it's like I got a little person I'm tending to. I have to take, even with, you know, necessary things, I have to take breaks. Like, you know, it takes me like 2 days to fold a load of laundry because I have to keep stuffing every few minutes. So like, you know, it's kind of hard to commit to like, oh, I'm going to get back on Instagram and do lips again. Because it's like, I don't put makeup on most days unless I'm going somewhere where people are going to see me.
So where can people follow you, momming and doing your makeup?
I mean, I don't have a TikTok. I just have Instagram. So, you know, my Instagram, I have my makeup one. I have my personal one. The personal one's where
a couple dollar ones.
Yeah. Well, I have Hugo has his, but she didn't ask about Hugo. But yeah, so I post all my Rory stuff on my personal one. So if people are interested, most people are interested in Rory. So I get that. It's fine. He's adorable. So just my personal Instagram.
Okay, so you you've moved back to Canada. Tell people what is going on with you here in Canada.
Well, I run your brand without losing your cool. A lot of people don't know that. So we are in the middle of a big relaunch, and we have a lot of exciting new things coming for that I'm very excited and eager to get moving on. We've had a couple of photo shoots that I've created, directed. So that's been a lot of fun. And then, very exciting, Michaela, Francis, and I are starting a clothing line. So
I'm looking forward to
that's still a ways away because we've been really focused on the brand. But I believe we've trademarked our name.
Nice.
So yeah, so we are getting there. Yeah, we're very excited about that.
Very cool.
Well, I don't want to speak under wrap.
I'm pretty excited. I'm excited.
And where can people hang out with you and watch you on this journey of obviously without losing your cool, you can watch what Dominic's doing there.
I mean, I just have my Instagram that I really love getting into. I love doing all like the little artsy photos and stuff that like.
Your TikTok's really cool. Tell people what you're doing on TikTok because I think a lot of people.
Because it didn't seem like you were going to talk about it.
I was.
She was finishing answering
I was talking about my Instagram because I'm really working on making a really pretty feed that makes me happy, that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So that I was touching
awesome.
on. Yes. And I'm addicted to TikTok. And
which we just coined TikTok today.
Yeah, TikTok is what we call it.
We just decided this morning that's
his nickname because I was really hungover and it just sounded right. Yeah, I love TikTok. I have a lot of fun making those. I was actually saying the other day, I think it's actually such a nice form of social media because it's really made me like romanticize my life. Like just like the mundane kind of stuff, making these cute little videos about it.
Or
like,
appreciate it.
No, that's what I mean. Like it really makes you like look at your life from a different lens, and you're like, oh, like this is actually like fun and nice. Like stuff that I used to kind of be like more negative about. Well, I was negative about like everything in LA, but it pivots kind of like your attitude because you're like, oh, I'm cleaning my apartment. I'm gonna make like a cute little video and like
it looks like a gorilla.
What? Anyway, and like we do really fun like little like funny ones that I watch.
I love to make a funny TikTok.
I am my TikTok's biggest fan. I watch my videos all day, and it's just so fun. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun on TikTok.
Okay, I don't know how TikTok works. I opened a TikTok just to look at your videos.
I did see that.
So where do people find you? How do people find you on TikTok?
It's just my name.
Just your name.
Yeah.
And same with Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yes. What about you? What are you up to?
I don't know.
My vibrator was just living
My
life.
vibrator is living life. Yeah, so I'm acting.
Yeah.
I do that.
Your film with the
Oh yes, I have a film premiering. Well, I'm in a film premiering in the fall. So that's exciting. Look out for that.
Right now.
Yeah, this coming fall.
So
the next fall. Yeah, a year. Sorry, next fall.
2022.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got a film coming out soon that I'm in that I'm very excited about. That was a lot of fun to shoot. And then just auditioning, keeping busy. I have my agent, whom I absolutely adore. She's fighting for me a lot out there, doing her best. And so I appreciate that. I know she's working really hard for me. And I'm just trying to get that going, build that. And then the clothing line.
And we've been so busy decorating our apartment.
And it's been a lot of work.
So consuming.
Yeah, moving is a big job.
Being a mother. I know we think there's only one new mother here, but there's two. Irish twins. We have Irish twins. Reginald Bloomerton Bisson the first, my son. He may have 4 feet, but he's still a son.
4 feet and all floof.
All floof.
All right. So you find you at Dominique Bisson, Instagram and TikTok. Brianna Lee Franklin on Instagram and Brianna Bisson Makeup. And Michaela Bisson on Instagram. And are you on TikTok?
Oh my gosh, we screw TikTok.
Oh, so there you go. You gotta go look.
I mean, TikToks are very niche, but they're good. They seem to hit. They strike a chord with the right people.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this, girls, and answering the questions that so many people ask me all the time about you guys. I love you.
Love you.
Well, we were also poor. No, we were. Like,
Yeah, no, I know.
Like,
It's not like a
I know,
it's not like a thing that
I
it's not
know.
like a thing that I'm like, oh, she got a so. I'm just saying like it as a point of like
You really rolled off the tongue so easily, didn't you? To think
no, I was
about
like,
it.
oh right.
Are those my jeans?
These are mom's jeans.
Are they the ones
We're the
you gave
sisterhood
to
of the
Mom?
traveling pants.
No, they look like
We're
my
all
jeans.
They're
Body.
mom's jeans.
Yeah, she
I got
gave
them
them
in
to
mom's
Mom.
closet.
No, I didn't give those ones to
Oh, I
Mom.
don't know.
Those are mine.
These are mom's. They're
We have
new.
the same
They're
mousies.
They're new. She got them when we were live.
So you bought the same mousies as
I don't
me?
know. if-
'Cause
Nobody
I
knows
have-
that you have these.
I wore them to the pumpkin patch.
What? Derailed!
No, I'm not mad. I was just saying. I was like, oh, I have those jeans.